What's up, everybody? This is Pete from the Pete Says podcast or Vlogcast, depending on where you're watching or listening. Thank you so much for being here. We are on episode 3. And since we're on episode 3, what I thought is I would pick kind of 3 topics to talk about that can help us become more creative and stay creative from a real authentic place. So let's get to it. As always, I'm going to play a little music in the background, keep myself going. You know I love music. I hope you do too. So the first thing, the 3 topics that we're going to be talking about is being protective, selective, and competitive. And the reason I went with those is just because they're a little easy to remember because of that "if" on the end of all of them. And the first one, let's get to protective. So what do I mean by protective? As a creative person and an artist or something like that, we have to be very protective of what we are consuming. And I mean not just eating, but I mean what are we consuming with our eyes? What are we consuming, as far as the environment around us? Are we putting ourselves into a good place to create from? And if you've listened to any of my other, podcasts or vlogcasts, which I would recommend that you check out, and I'll have a couple links up there somewhere, what I get into is really the health of a creative person. There's self-help, a lot of self-help stuff out there and things like that. That's not what this is. This isn't pulling yourself up and making yourself better. Because if you aren't better, how can you make yourself better? That's like a sick person making themselves well. If you're sick, you need someone else other than yourself to help you get better. Now, I know in my own life, I go to God for that. God is my healer. God is the person that protects me and gives me wisdom to say, I might be going into an environment that is not going to be good for my mental state. Or what are you watching? What are you listening to? Is it negative? Is it people that don't understand you and believe you? Now, that can be a slippery slope, and I'll try to get back to that. But what are you surrounding yourself with? What are you allowing into your mind and into your eyes? And the Bible says, what is in the heart will come out of the mouth. So that means that if we look at the heart as a well, right, and I have dirty, crusty water going on down in there, when I go to get a drink or give someone else a drink, what am I pulling from? I'm pulling from some nasty water, right? I have to have a fresh well of water to give people. So let's compare it to art or creativity in any fashion. I don't care if it's business or anything like that. I'm not just talking about painting on a canvas. I'm talking about anything that's creative, that's out of the box, and anything like that. So please do not limit yourself. So let's take this well and let's compare it to creativity. If my creativity is coming from being around negative people, people that I'm choosing to be around people that don't believe me and then listen to those lies that I'm not good enough or my art doesn't matter or, something like that. See, that's the difference. We have to be around people, but where are we getting our source from? What am I watching that's going to help me create from a better place if it's positive? If it's not good for me, then my art will suffer. So it's the same way as that well. So as I said before, I always try to be brutally honest. So it's been a little bit since my last one, and I do want to be consistent. But I also battle with my own demons and stuff. If you look at the thumbnail, the reason I'm dressed like a ninja is I love all that stuff, first of all. Me, my brother, my cousins were always messing around and acting like army men or ninjas or something like that. So first it was just fun, but there's a certain aspect of that we have to be protective. Our sword, our weapon of choice, has to be protecting the thing that we love the most. And if we are not protecting who we are, as creative people, and we're allowing people to say things that will cause us damage if we're not learning to stand up to that. Because mine, I can talk a big game sometimes, and there's times where I will stand up and yell and shout and all that stuff. But there's other times that creative side of me that just wants to kind of be alone and just be left alone to do what I want to do. And again, not because I don't like people, but I create better that way when I'm just alone. If I'm pointing my sword at myself or not protecting myself, then again it comes back to I'm allowing these things to come between me and creating. So hopefully that kind of makes sense of we want to be very careful about what we consume. And again, it's not food, what we consume in our minds and our thoughts. So these last couple of days have been more difficult because I've been, I deal with anxiety and depression and stuff. And so sometimes I get so heavy and thick that I don't have anything to give from. And so it goes back to that well. My well has dried up. If someone said, make me some, I'd be like, I got nothing to give you, man. So I have to be very careful about who I listen to, what I listen to. And that's, music or movies, as well as, the movies that I watch and stuff. But also, what are they saying in that movie? What is the underlying theme of this movie? We got to know what we're watching, guys. It's very, very important. And so there were things said that just ripped me to the core. And so that has stunted me for a little bit. Well, I have to know that is just a time period. That is not a forever thing. And if I don't get a hold of allowing God to heal me in these moments and protect me, then I'm never going to get better. So again, I can't just stand here and say, I'm going to get better. No, I have to go to my Father, my Heavenly Father, who created me, the Master Creator, as I've said, who knows me and knit me together in my mother's womb, it says. Man, that's amazing. You want to talk about creative. He made every single part of you and every single part of me. That's how important you are. That's how important I am. So that's how important it is to be protective of what we're listening and watching and what people are saying to us. Now, it doesn't mean being combative. That's not the reason for the sword. It just means protect. So now let's go into selective before I go too far into protective and forget the other two. Selective. I have to be selective of my friends. I have to be selective of what I'm creating and why. So if I'm just creating just to create because that makes me feel good, then I think that's a little bit different than creating from an overflow and an excess of who I really am, right? So again, let's keep on this well thing, right? Let's keep tapping into that well. My well is now full of good water. And now it's so full that it's coming up over the top. Man, that's what we want. Because it's just right there. It's right at the top. And it's just seconds away from just creating something beautiful and awesome, right? That's what we want to aspire to, is being at that point all the time. Imagine if you and I, and if you deal with some of the things I do, then what if we were good all the time? What if we were better all the time? What if we weren't dealing with anxiety and depression all the time, and we were creating from a pure and awesome place 100% of the time? We would be, I don't even know if words could say what would be happening. Because to me, I think the world needs creativity, especially right now. We need to show emotions through color and through sounds and through movies and art. But even more, business and how we're doing business, changing it up. The world needs creative people like you and I to step up and to create from that overflow of our well. So I have to be, in order to do that, I have to be selective. It goes right along with being protective. I have to protect the selection that I've made. I have to protect the friends that I have. I have to protect the time that I spend with them. I have to make it productive and not like it's a business meeting. I'm not talking about that, man. Chilling out and when I get in that flow with some of my creative friends, man, it's the most beautiful things come from that. So I'm not talking about it not being from a natural place, but I have to understand how important that is. And if there's someone that isn't quite jiving and like, hey, there's like an oldie term, right? Jive. If I'm not syncing up with someone, man, then I have to really be aware of, are they taking from me or are they giving back? And it's a give and take. So I have to be selective of the people that I associate with. Some people, you know, and I think I'm going to be having some guests on. I want to have a couple friends of mine, artistic people and non-artistic, so that we can really look at this whole thing. Again, this is about the kind of the health of a creative person, helping a creative find the way. Because we can get so lost in the world of a non-creative and think that, you know, I'm so strange, I'm so weird. And so that's just kind of like a reasoning of why are we doing this? I want to remind you why I'm talking about these things. But the one person I think would be interesting to have is my brother. And although we came from the same exact family, same exact environment, and going through all the same things, we have such a different outlook on life and how we do things and how we think. You know, he says he's not creative. I would say he is creative in a different manner. But it would be very interesting to get his take on, for you guys to hear his take on how he sees me and how I see him, and how we might look at different, look at something from different places. So he's someone that, although he thinks differently than me, we have conversations about each other to learn each other, and that I can be selective and say, that's someone I want to be around. That is not just because he's my brother, but he is a brother, my brother, that is interested in who I am, what I am, and he is supporting me just like I support what he does. So you want to look at your friends. Who are you surrounding yourself with, and being selective with those people? The next one is competitive, and I hope this kind of can make sense as well. I think there's the good and the bad of competitive, first of all. You know, when I was younger, I was really big into sports and stuff, like I've said in some of my past episodes and stuff, and I thought that designated that I couldn't be artistic and stuff. But I think what stuck with me through the athletic part of things and the team sports and things like that is like that competitive edge. I want to win. So what I mean is, I think the good of competitiveness is wanting to be good. You want to be the best that you can be. To me, there is something said to turning on the mic, turning on the camera, and going for it. If you're at that point, do it. If all you have is a phone to start with video, do it. If all you have is a pencil to start drawing, do it. Don't wait to have this giant studio or something like that to begin creating. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying, if whatever you have at your disposal to start with right now, you start at that level right now, and you give 100% of yourself. You use every single ounce of your passion and who you are and how you're made, and you put it into that drawing, that writing, that business, that car washing. I don't care what it is. That is what I think will start to produce greater and greater results. That's the competitive part. The good part of that is I want to win at being the best Peter that I can be, the best self, right? And then it goes back to the other things. If I'm that competitive of being, I want to see myself being the best, and healthy, then I have to be selective with what I do, who I hang around with, and all that stuff, as I said, and I need to be protective of myself and what I'm consuming. And so that's why I think they kind of all go together. It's okay to want to be the best. It's okay to want to be, to up your game. Do it. But make sure you're doing it in the right way and for the right reason. If I'm doing it just to be better than someone else, then again, I think my art is going to suffer. Because your why you do something, I think is more important than the results at sometimes. I think the why is better. The why is more important than how much money, how much fame and fortune and power and all that stuff. And if you really break down business models, you can see ones that are very strong culturally because their why is very easy to grasp a hold of, and the people that work for them and with them are one in that why reason. Why am I here? Why am I doing something? Well, to make money. You're going to make money because that's your focus. At a certain point, it will break, and you will be left with a foundation that's crumbling because you just based it on the result and not that real reason of why you're doing something. So that competitiveness can be very good, but as I kind of already alluded to, it can be not so good because it can drive us to see everybody else as someone that we need to beat and conquer and be better than. And God only made one you. He made only one me. And so what I mean is I see other people that are very similar to me. I see other people that might act and talk like me maybe, and think like me and all that stuff, but they are not me. God is so creative that He didn't make clones of people. He wasn't sitting there in like a human factory thing and saying, hey, yo, we got to make 100 people that look like this and just kind of change their faces a little bit or something. No, He took the time, it says, to knit you together in your mother's womb to make you special and different than the very next person that He made. He took the time to do that. So if you know that, then that's what you need to create from, and not worrying about what someone else is doing and what they're looking like. And man, that's hard. That's hard for me because I'm looking at some of these other YouTubers and people that are out there, and I'm like, man, they got it. They got this giant warehouse that looks cool and all the equipment that they need, and they have a team going on and all this stuff, and they have people that are realizing their vision and their why, and they're in on it, and they are part of what this person is doing. And that can really distract me from being myself because I don't have those things. I'm a one-man show in a little storage shed that I turn into a studio. I got to see it that way. But I got to also see the beautiful part of that I stepped into this little place and I said, there is more to this than meets the eye. And what do I see in my mind? What do I want the final outcome to be? And it might take me a while, but I'm competitive enough that I want to see it get to that point. I want to see my videos become something that speak to people and cause an emotional reaction, and they get what I'm saying, even if they can't really voice it. Some of us are more open with our emotions than others and stuff. Yeah, I'm even more emotionally out there than my wife. So here's the story. So when I asked her to marry me, I mean, it was like I had the ring for like a couple weeks or something like that. Because I was like flipping out, man. I was like, man, I'm single. I can go and do whatever I want. I mean, single as far as not married and stuff. You know, we were engaged and everything. But I could still do whatever I wanted to do. And I'm like, oh man, this is a big giant step. Like, this is for real. This is serious. You know, us fours making everything 80 times bigger than maybe it should or something. But so anyway, so I go over to her parents and I set up this whole thing with candles and this whole this cryptogram, and because she loves like word puzzles and stuff like that. And so finally she got the point that there was something more going on. And so she came outside, and it's like the lights are twinkling from the candles, and I get down, I hug her, and just I'm just so enthralled with her beauty and who she is, and even more now. And then I get down on my knee and I ask her to marry me, and she says, yeah. And I hug her, and we're just hugging, and I'm like, I don't know if this is true, but I think I was like, are you crying? And she was like, no. Because, I wasn't tearing up. No. A bug had flown into my eye. No, so, like, I'm sitting there, like, tearing up because I'm like, man, this is a moment, man. This is forever now. When I say, will you marry me, I mean that forever. And we're going to do life together, good or bad or ugly. We're doing it together. Yeah, man, I'm going to shed some freaking tears, and that doesn't mean that she's cold or anything like that, but she's not as into expressing her emotions on the outside. So I kind of went off a little bit. Let's get back to competitiveness, but the reason for all that is when I do something, I want to do it 100%. So I can either be on or off. And that can be a good or bad part of that competitiveness. You have to know, is this something that I truly want to be involved in? Because as a creative person, again, I'm not speaking for everybody, but it could be for most of us. We are creating from the depth of our soul. We are creating from our passion, the pains and the pleasures of life and all these things. And so you want to make sure that you are picking things that are bringing you to that next level, that are selective, that aren't drawing from you, that you are also getting from someone or something as well to continue being yourself and creating. And you also want to be protective of your thoughts, of your soul, of your heart and your passions. And again, we have to go back to the master creator who created us. Whether you believe that or not, would you rather believe that if you love art and you look at some of the most beautiful paintings and Da Vinci and some of these people like that created these amazing things, wouldn't you rather that they said, this came from such a love of what I do, and I love this, I'm so passionate about it? Doesn't that sound better than I was bored and so I created the Sistine Chapel thing? I was like, I had some old paintbrushes, I decided to throw something together, no big deal, whatever. So again, whether you believe God loves you or not, or really cares about you, just give it a thought from that perspective. Would you rather pretend, if we're all just pretending, wouldn't you rather pretend that there is someone who loves you so much that he knit you together in your mother's womb? He created you not by accident, on purpose, for a reason. I can't tell you what that reason is, but I can only steer you to the map, which is the Bible, the Word of God, that will lead us to understanding ourselves from His perspective, and you will find your purpose. So we have to go back to that source. And wouldn't you rather know that someone loved you so much that they created you like that? For me, I love that feeling, man. Like, if I'm going to pick between just something happening and all of a sudden I'm here hanging out in life and there's really no reason to it, or that someone created me on purpose for a reason very specifically, I think I'm going to go with the latter, man. And again, if this is all pretend, then alright, but I'm fully invested in it. Give it a try. Go to the master creator and say, hey, I don't know if you're real or not, but I'm like that cracked jar that I talked about in episode 2. I don't know how to fix the cracks myself. Can you fix those for me and make me full functioning and overflowing with excess? And that's where my art comes from. Remember, that well that you have, needs to be full to the brim and overflowing with water that is pure and fresh for other people to experience life, because they don't have what you have. I'm me. I don't want you to be me. I want to be me. I got that, but I can't be you, and no one else can be you. But you have to get that for yourself. You have to understand your value. And again, it's not a thing of saying, it's not a self-help, I am good. But there is an aspect to the fact that we have to realize when those thoughts start coming in, like the last couple days and things like that. And I was feeling very low, and I couldn't do this because there was nothing to give. I have to sit back and look at, what am I consuming? What am I listening to? And is that where I want to be? Do I want to create from this flat place of nothing, or do I want to have something to give someone? And if I do, then I have to get to the place of allowing the master creator to help me and get to a better place, because I can't do it myself. A sick person can't heal themselves. We want to say that. I know, well, there's medicine, but wouldn't you want to, and again, it's coming from a humble place, wouldn't you want to create from a place of health, knowing that someone came along beside you and cared enough to help you become a better person, a better creator? So all that to say, guys, remember, it's okay to be protective, selective, and competitive. And there can be good and bad to maybe all of those things. Think about those things in 3 different areas of your life. What am I need to protect myself and the thoughts that come into my mind. I need to be selective of what I'm consuming and who I'm around and what they're saying to me. And I need to be competitive. I need to see that it's okay to focus and become better than I am right now. So I hope that left you with something. I hope that gave you, again, there's a lot of podcasts and vlogcasts and all that will give you specifics on how to do something. And I might come out with some of that stuff at some point. But really, again, I'm creating a base, and then we can start building that house. Let's dig deep, dig that hole for that well, so we can get that well start filling up with some good, fresh, clean, artistic expression. All right, so I'm going to leave you with this, as I always do. Stay creative. It's that important. Because if you're a creative person, then that is who you are. But your art, at the same time, does not define you. Because if you think that your art defines you and you make something that's not so good, you're going to say that I'm not so good. Well, guess what? The master creator does not make mistakes. He is so good that there has never been a blemish when he made each one of us. And we can say, you don't know what I've done. You don't know what I've done. So I'm going to give it back to you. You don't know what I've been through. But I can stand here and talk to you and say, he loves you that much because I know what he did for me. So think about that. Stay creative, but let it come from a healthy, powerful place, knowing your creator. All right, man, I got so much more I could say, but let's save it for another episode. Drop something in the comments of what you're what you're dealing with. I really actually care. If you put something in the comments, I will respond to you. If you're dealing with a low point in your life and you don't know what to do, I will respond. If you need that tribe to come alongside of you, that's what I'm trying to create here. People that can actually talk about their feelings and what they're going through and their mindsets, and we can help each other. You're not alone. You have found your tribe. Thank you for listening to the Pete Says podcast and watching the Vlogcast.